Okay, today we're reacting to Cocomelon, the most evil channel on YouTube. This is a very interesting video I wasn't going to react to at first, but then I thought if you have kids or you're going to have kids, you probably want to watch this video and see what he has to say. This is really, really dangerous stuff. I've made a video on Cocomelon in the past because they have two dads in the show in certain parts. But we're going to react to this. If you don't want to see a reaction video, I'll link the original. I am going to pause it and give a commentary throughout because that's what a reaction video is. So don't comment saying, let the video play, stop pausing it. We're going to be reacting, so let's jump right into this.
But now I had to get him speech therapy so I can get him to talk. There are hundreds and hundreds of anecdotes in which parents mention the exact same problem. The Cocomelon show is so insanely addictive, it's being compared to nicotine and causing developmental issues amongst the kids who can't stop watching. Children's TV.
And they say right now that ADHD is at a record-breaking high for kids, that it's all no attention span. Kids can't sit through anything, sit through class, sit through a movie because their attention span's being ruined from shows like Cocomelon and from TikTok and from Instagram. And if your kids are on these platforms, they shouldn't be. Your kids should not be on TikTok. They should not be watching YouTube Shorts. All of that stuff is complete garbage for their brain.
Expert Jerica Sands calls it the most damaging show a child can watch, explaining the sneaky ways in which they make the show addictive. Firstly, there's the colors. Take for example the wheels on the
Now here's the crazy part. Cocomelon seems like the most innocent show because it's all like nursery rhymes, but just trust me, when you see this video, the way he breaks it down, it's very, very dangerous for your kid.
Bus. The three main colors, blue, green, and yellow, are all at maximum saturation, meaning they cannot be made any brighter, no matter how hard you try. Extreme saturation is normally used for alerts and notifications, as it's exciting, dynamic, and attracts attention, which is why it's also used in slot machines. Cocomelon puts these colors in perfect contrast, making them appear even more vibrant, which is different to, for example, Bluey, in which the colors instead blend together. Cocomelon's also different because it's highly repetitive. There's a reason they have 38 videos with over.
Look at these views. 3.2 billion, 3.1 billion, 2.2 billion. I mean, unbelievable the amount of views these videos get.
1 billion views. A child's brain is wired to learn through repetition, so it feels right to them to watch the same thing over and over again. Cocomelon abuses this in almost every video. For example, in the Yes Yes Playground song, they pick a word to repeat 3 times in every sentence, pairing it with a subtly repeating background lullaby, keeping children hooked. Literally no show or movie puts my son into a deep trance the way Cocomelon does.
And this is why people give this to their kids. And my youngest daughter was the only one really that got into Cocomelon. And we were like, oh, it's no big deal. Then I saw the Two Daddy thing. And I was thinking Cocomelon's the most like innocent show. But the way they're talking about this is completely true. I have 4 little girls. My youngest was really the only one that got into it. And she would literally go into just, like they said here, a trance watching this. So hooked on the show. She would watch it for hours and be totally fine if you let her. And yeah, it's just absolutely crazy to see the science behind it all, how it's all intentional, the way they're addicting our kids to what I would call digital fentanyl. Just like TikTok, just like Instagram, it really is digital fentanyl for kids.
The second it's on the TV, he turns into a toddler zombie who doesn't see or hear anything else that's going on in the room. This is only exacerbated by Cocomelon's subtitles, which have also been a heavy point of criticism. The letters are not educational, I can barely read them fast enough. It's simply another interesting element to capture your little one's attention. Cocomelon explains in every description, our goal is to help make learning a fun and enjoyable experience for kids, giving you the peace of mind that your children are receiving quality educational content. But people have argued that they're teaching exactly what children shouldn't do. For example, in the No No Bedtime song, the baby refuses to brush his teeth, have a bath, put on pajamas, or get in bed. The education is that
literally teaching kids to be rebellious. Teaching kids not to obey their parents.
He eventually agrees to do so, yet a TikTok user was critical, stating, anytime I'd ask my son to do a simple task, he'd say no, no, no. He's sitting there watching Cocomelon, which taught him no, 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 and to say no to me. On the topic of education, Jerica Sands.
And by the way, this is not a Christian video. This is a secular YouTuber pointing out stuff that us as Christian parents should be very, very vigilant about. What are our kids watching? I know how it is because I have 4 kids to easily just let them be on the iPad all day and it gets them out of your hair. You're busy. You're letting them be distracted, but we have to be very, very careful what our kids are watching, what our kids are learning about, especially when they're young. Their brain is still developing, and it's literally developing into ADHD, into this stuff. And I've caught myself with that with short form. It's given me, I feel like, ADHD, of where it's like I constantly need something new and something fresh, and my brain can't just relax. It's just nonstop. This is what these platforms do. This is what short form does to adults. It's the same thing that Cocomelon does to kids. It's no different. Literally no different.
These people don't give a shit about our children. They care about money. That's it.
That's
your
the
child's
truth.
cognitive development in direct exchange for their wealth.
Your child's cognitive development in exchange for wealth. That is the nail on the head. These people do not care about your kids. All they care about is making money off your kids. Your kids are products to them. So you have to be the one that's vigilant to shelter your kids.
And there's pretty good evidence supporting this. A New York Times journalist visited Cocomelon's studio, discovering their number one focus is keeping children hooked. Cocomelon's data and analytics team sifts constantly through YouTube numbers to determine exactly what resonates. Should a girl wear black jeans or blue jeans? Should the music be louder or softer? Should the bus be yellow or red? Yellow is the answer, as they use a darker method to ensure that they're correct. Cocomelon has a dedicated Distractatron room in which once a month children are brought.
The company has a Distractatron room. Literally a room.
Here one at a time and shown a handful of episodes to figure out exactly which parts of the shows are engaging and which are tuned out. Next to the TV playing Cocomelon, there's a second screen which plays a continuous loop of banal real-world scenes. A guy pouring a cup of coffee, someone getting a haircut, each lasting about 20 seconds. Whenever a youngster looks away from the Moonbug show to glimpse the Distractatron, a note is jotted down. We can see what they're looking at and the exact moment when they got distracted. Therefore, education clearly isn't the primary goal. Keeping kids' attention is, and this is proven by Cocomelon's most addictive element, rapid camera cutting. It's crazy how many times the frame changes on Cocomelon. It's the same type of addicting behavior that we experience on a TikTok binge.
Yep.
It's the quick change of frame that releases that dopamine and makes the videos addicting to watch. Count the seconds between a change of frame. Well, TikToker the Circus Brain did exactly this. He firstly counts the changes on My Little Pony, concluding there's about 6 seconds between each cut. He then compares it to Cocomelon.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
In her video,
And we wonder why our kids have zero attention span, why they can't sit and do homework, why they can't sit and read the Bible, why they can't sit for 5 minutes in prayer, why they can't listen to what they're told. These type of shows are literally why. And again, I'm coming from my youngest daughter watched Cocomelon all the time. No more Cocomelon. Sorry, JJ. No more Cocomelon.
Nightmare that is Cocomelon, Savantix draws a similar conclusion. She found that 96% of the shots in Baby Shark were shorter than 2 seconds. She then compares 4 different animated shows, again finding Cocomelon has the shorter shots.
The longest shot on a Cocomelon video was 6 seconds. The longest shot on Arcane was 8 seconds. The longest shot on Bluey was 27 seconds. And the longest shot on Encanto was 18 seconds.
Which when combined with every other element, creates some terrifying statistics. Dr. Kristen Summer explained that when showing an infant normal video content, they'll focus on the screen just 11% of the time. However, when the video is instead switched to Cocomelon, their screen engagement skyrockets to a whopping 74%. This therefore produces stories such as this. I used to volunteer for a preschool and they had song time. A Cocomelon video came on and all of the tots stopped what they were doing, put down their cheese crackers, and remained fixated on the screen for the duration of the video. It was honestly kind of terrifying.
Yeah, the way that this turns kids into little zombies is bizarre.
YouTuber Saberspark shared his own personal anecdote. He asked to watch a Disney movie with his 2 younger cousins, who both completely refused, and instead spent all day glued to an iPad playing the addictive show. In Cocomelon Made My Kid a Zombie, a mother talks about her son. He would be in a daze while watching it. You could be waving your hand right in front of his
It's almost
face
like they go
and
into a
he
trance.
wouldn't move. It was almost scary. This was also discovered by Sarah Mills 98, who explained when the Cocomelon addiction is so real that my 1-year-old can navigate the TV to turn it on by himself. However, nothing shows the addiction better than the Cocomelon TikTok trend. Parents will play the show's intro loudly and video their kids sprinting toward the television, where you can witness their mood change instantly. The New York Times journalist found something similar. The kid in the Distractotron had shown up in the midst of a tantrum, which ended the second he heard the Cocomelon theme song. It was no surprise to Wheeler, the head of research. 99% of kids, he said, if they're having issues when they get here, once that Cocomelon song comes on, they're like, life is okay, all is good with the world.
Kinda what adults do with drugs. When they're going through something, they want that dopamine hit, they want that endorphin release, and they run to drugs. This is quite literally what the video started with. Drugs for kids. That's actually what this is. And it seems so innocent. Isn't that how the enemy packages things, as an angel of light, but really destroying the minds of our kids, rewiring their brain? And I guarantee you could write in the comments right now what your story is and how your kid is addicted to this. Because like I said, my youngest daughter loved Cocomelon. She doesn't really watch it anymore. And of course, after I watch this, I'm like, she won't be watching it. And I hope me reacting this video will maybe bring light to this, if you haven't seen this video, to just say, I'm not letting my kids watch this. I need to be vigilant on what my kids are watching. And this is drugs for my kids, which is such a bizarre sentence.
Obviously, there's a reason for this. Cocomelon is so hyper-stimulating that it actually acts as a drug.
I didn't even know that was the next part, and I just said that.
And what happens when you take the drug away? Young children experiencing symptoms of addiction and withdrawal, obviously leaving them completely dysregulated.
Crazy.
TikTok user
Electronic drug.
ThePof1 filmed what happens when you take the show away, explaining he'll be inconsolable for at least 10 to 15 mins after, adding in the description, Cocomelon meltdown is legit. Once you have a taste of the cocoa, it's hard to break the addiction, which this Reddit user had experienced even worse. My husband and I have been worried about our child. I can slowly see how she'd throw violent tantrums at home and in church whenever she'd get bored and would want to watch the show. Her behavior changes the moment she watches the show, and she will not even eat her meals if she wouldn't watch it. After these tantrums end, kids can experience a general discomfort in the speed of everyday life. The more they watch the show, the more their brain begins to expect this intense level of stimulation.
Basically, Cocomelon overstimulates their brains so much that everything else just seems slow and boring in comparison.
However, the potential consequences get much worse than this.
And it's crazy because we're really the first generation that's having to deal with this type of targeting marketing on kids, where electronics are so accessible, and then these shows are specifically marketed to kids to obviously monetize them. But 50 years ago, this didn't exist. 25 years ago, this didn't exist. 10 years ago, this didn't exist. But here we are now in this generation, and we haven't even seen what these kids, this generation's kids, will look like growing up, because short form, TikTok and all that only came out a few years ago. I've been doing social media for 5 years, almost 6 years. It wasn't out when I started. And now it's like this new generation where no one has an attention span. It's leaking into every area of our life. And then what happens in 20 years when these kids are adults? Or in 15 years when these kids are adults? How will the ADHD be 1,000 times worse than it already is?
As mentioned at the start, it was the cause of a child's speaking problems, with a notable reply reading, "Same thing happened with my daughter too. She's 4 but can't speak properly. She knows the words, but she does not like to frame the sentence or speech. She has been watching these Cocomelons or such other stuffs for 2 or 3 years. Hope we're not too late." Over on Reddit, a speech-language pathologist explained, "Screen time in general is linked with speech delays for a variety of reasons, but Cocomelon is excessively bad. Firstly, unlike other TV shows or movies, it doesn't have a story. It's just very short clips with poorly written songs. The kids aren't able to follow the plot, learn vocabulary, and see the resolution of a conflict, supported by infant specialist Meg Fora."
And the problem with fast-paced TV programs is that we find that little one's language development is slower.
On the Agents of Speech YouTube channel, this is again confirmed.
The main problem with watching videos on the internet is that they don't know how to use the language that they learn.
But he adds that 4 to 5 hours of screen time per day can make a toddler completely non-verbal.
Wow. And I know there's some of you right now watching this, the light bulb is turning on, because maybe your kids are nonverbal.
Hours is obviously a lot of time, but in Cocomelon Made My Kid a Zombie, researchers discovered that 5-year-olds who watch more than 2 hours of TV a day tended to have lower attention spans and were 7.7 times more likely to show symptoms of ADHD. These screen times might be even lower for Cocomelon specifically, because as explained by Jerica Sands, not all screen time is created equal. A child who just watched 30 minutes of Cocomelon and a child who just watched 30 minutes of Trash Truck will look like a very, very different child. Thankfully, here lies a simple solution. Sierra Renee explained, my 2-year-old is speech delayed and addicted to Cocomelon. Switched to Miss Rachel 2 days ago, and he's already saying more words and hasn't had any tantrums. Kim.it shared an almost identical anecdote. My 8-month-old was obsessed with Cocomelon and having bad tantrums, so I cancelled Cocomelon and only let her watch Miss Rachel, and she said her first
just something as small as changing what your kids watch, and then all of a sudden kids go from being nonverbal to speaking. That's
word
crazy.
Within the first 3 days of watching. Clearly, parents are able to simply change the channel, but not before leaving Cocomelon a massive amount of dislikes. They've therefore earned the title, the absurdly popular kids show parents hate, and Cocomelon has actually responded to the criticism that explain our shows are not intended to replace outdoor playtime or playdates. They have a place in children's entertainment time, and as with food, exercise, etc., it comes down to each parent to find the right and appropriate balance for their children. Our responsibility is ensuring that the quality of the content that we produce is high and beneficial for the development of a child's cognitive and soft skills. It is worth adding that our social media communities are filled with stories of parents who experience firsthand how Moonbug content helps their children. Cocomelon does have a crazy amount of supporters, but it's obvious that some of them are simply ignoring the downsides. My baby learned the alphabet and numbers from Cocomelon. She may not speak a complete sentence, but she expresses her wants through phrases. But is it Cocomelon's responsibility to ensure that babies are talking? Well,
the answer is no. No, it's the parents' responsibility to make sure these kids are not spending hours and hours a day, and we're not putting our kids with an iPad and letting the iPad just basically babysit them.
No. People love blaming cartoons and games for raising children, and not the shitty parents that don't step in to stop them from watching so much. Cocomelon is actually a really sad symbol of parents giving their children tablets instead of actually parenting and interacting with them. Ultimately, parents are the people who choose how much their child can.
All right. I'll link the full video. I wanted to make sure everybody saw this because this is like a very, very alarm going off for many of you, a very big wake-up call. And the bottom line is this: we have to be the ones to disciple our kids. We have to be the ones to pour into our kids. We have to be the ones to monitor what they're watching, what they're listening to. If you don't know what your kids are watching on their iPad, that's a massive problem. If you don't know what your kids are doing on their phone, that's a massive problem. We need to start really, really, really watching and looking into, especially these dark days that we live in, where these companies don't care about our kids. They want to infect our kids with this absolute trash, and we need to be vigilant and not lazy. It's just easy to put it on coast and say, oh, I'll just, it's fine. Let the kid watch it all day long. But these are children, the Bible says, a gift from God. God has given us our kids, and we need to be responsible with the gift that he's given us. And we need to steward them properly because they might end up as teenagers and you can't go back. You can't go back and correct this stuff. Like I said, my youngest was the only one that got involved watching Cocomelon. I wish I would have saw this a long time ago. Maybe you have kids watching it, and hopefully you see this and go, yeah, I'm not going to let them watch it anymore because of all these dangerous side effects for our children. We need to be aware of this. We need to have eyes open to this. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, whether your kids watch it, whether you've seen a change in behavior. What we do is now during the week, our kids get no iPad, no entertainment. And then during the weekend, we'll allow them to be on their iPads for a little bit or watch movies or whatever it is for a while. But we've noticed a dramatic change in them without giving them any iPads throughout the week, any games or anything throughout the week, and then letting them be rewarded on the weekend with a little bit of iPad or whatever it is. But you'll notice a difference. If you take that from your kid, they're going to be mad at first. They're going to go crazy at first. Our kids, we started this last year, and they were not happy the first week. They were basically detoxing from all the entertainment, all the iPads, all the shows they were watching. And now we've buckled down and said only on the weekends, and we noticed a massive difference in them. Bottom line is this: we just need to be careful what our kids are watching. We need to be aware. We need to be watching the shows because you don't want to end up with your kids older and then thinking, man, I wish I was more careful. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. Do it now. Do it now. So comment down below what you think about this video. Pray about becoming a monthly sponsor with our ministry. You can do that in the description. It really, really does help a lot. We have a new book coming out called How to Cast Out Demons. It comes out in the second week of November. Pre-order that down below in the description. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.